What's up? My name is Rebecca, and you're watching the Reseller Mom Show. Normally, I do tips videos and interviews and reseller mom content to get more done. However, today's particular video is a training for virtual assistants. So if you're watching and you're a reseller and you'd like to use this video to help train your virtual assistant in doing listing on Poshmark and making drafts, then this is the video for you. If you are a virtual assistant and you're interested in building your skills as an assistant for a reseller and want to learn how to make drafts on Poshmark and list on Poshmark, then this is also the video for you. So what I will do is kind of address this as to a virtual assistant that has been hired by a reseller. So that's kind of how I'm going to frame it. I have a virtual assistant that does this for me, and so I'm going to kind of go over it with that in mind. So the reseller supervisor of the virtual assistant should be, hiring this person and should be providing the credentials for logging into the Poshmark account. And when you log in, you'll be taken to the feed page, which is this. And what you'll do to really kind of get started with anything usually is to go to the actual person's closet just to make sure that you're in the right spot. So this is the person's closet. This is my closet. If you're going to list on Poshmark, you're going to be clicking over here to the top right, sell on Poshmark. When you click on there, you're going to be taken to a screen that allows you to create the listing. And once you have started to create listings and you save them as drafts, they will be available up here at the top. Right now, I don't have any drafts available to show, but they would be saved there if you saved a draft. And if you were going to make that draft live, which would possibly be the reseller supervisor doing that, you would be able to see them all shown here, and I'll show you that at the end. And you can go ahead and make them live from that point. But if you're creating a listing and making it live, or creating a listing and saving it as a draft, you want to be in this area here. Now, there are a lot of individual factors that will come into play between a reseller, supervisor, and their virtual assistant on how this process will work. I can only tell you what I do and what I'm familiar with, and then the two of you will need to kind of come together and figure out exactly what you're doing moving forward, and hopefully the reseller supervisor is providing clear directions to the virtual assistant on what to do. What I do is take the photos, and those photos upload on my phone to Google Photos, and I save them in a folder which I name, a particular date. And so I will have, all the photos that I take today is January 21st. All the photos that I take today of the items are taken. They're uploaded into Google Photos from my phone, and I save them in a folder. And then I share that folder with my virtual assistant, who opens that folder, downloads the photos to her computer, and then utilizes them to create the listings. Now, part of the photos are a little form with measurements in there. Now, everyone's form can be a little bit different. Your form can just be measurements. You could do a spreadsheet with measurements. You can have item numbers or not have item numbers. You can provide the virtual assistant with all of the keywords on a more elaborate form. That's taken you take a picture of that elaborate form and upload it with the photos of the clothing items. So there's a number of ways that you can do it. I used to have a very elaborate form with all sorts of keywords in there and all sorts of categories and all of this information. And I would take a picture of the item, take a picture of that form along with the item number. And so that would be everything my virtual assistant needed to create the listing. We've gotten to a point now where she doesn't need all of those keywords anymore. She can pretty much do it herself. So I take a picture of the item, all the pictures of the item, and then I just take a picture of a form that has the measurements on it and the item number, and she utilizes that to make the listing and then adds in all the keywords herself. So again, I say this to the reseller supervisor and the virtual assistant. You two need to work out exactly what process you're going to do, how the information is going to get communicated to the virtual assistant, or if the virtual assistant is going to be creating the information, him or herself. If you are in need of listing forms, I will link that below. I do have an Etsy store where I sell or make available reseller resources, and so all the listing forms that I use and have used are there and are available for purchase. It's an instant download, so you can definitely use that. They're very helpful, and it's sold a lot of times, and I've gotten some great feedback on it. And if you're thinking of hiring a virtual assistant, I also have a bundle pack of like sample job descriptions and all of my tips and tricks on how I have successfully hired virtual assistants. I've had anywhere from 1 to 6 virtual assistants at any time. And I have one virtual assistant who's with me now, who's my main person, and she's been with me. We're in our 3rd year together. So I'm really passionate about utilizing the work of a virtual assistant. I couldn't build my business without her. I really appreciate it. And I just hope that you have as great of an experience as I do. So sorry for that being such a long intro, but I did want to get a little bit of that context out there. So first thing you want to do is start with the photos. So again, if you're the virtual assistant, somehow those photos are going to be coming to you. However you work that out with your supervisor, you're going to have these photos now on your computer and you want to upload them to start a listing. Now, I don't even know, I don't have anything in particular on here to use, so I may just find something that I have. Let's see. Let's use a picture of my dog. So I just selected one picture. Obviously, you can select multiple pictures, and you want to go ahead and put them into the listing. Now here, it's automatically going to select the first one to be your cover photo. If something needs to be done to it, to, change it or, change the size or anything, you can do that here. Otherwise, you click apply and it's going to drop it in. You can go ahead and add additional photos if you'd like. So if I want to put my logo in there, again, these would typically be clothing photos. So you would select all of the photos that you need for that particular item. Let's say it's a dress. So you have all of the pictures of the dress in here, and now all of your photos are all set. Now, again, here's another very specific to each business part, the title, the description. I don't know how your reseller supervisor is going to have you craft a title or a description. Maybe they're going to give it to you word for word. Maybe they're going to give you keywords and you have to utilize a formula or a format to generate the title and the description from there. Maybe there is a template or a form that they're going to have you fill out. So that information you guys need to get together and figure out how you're going to do it. I can tell you that generally speaking, I would put the brand, the item, the style, any details, the color, the size, and then I include my item number. That's the format in which I handle my title. So however the information is coming to you, virtual assistant, this is the format I use. You're more than welcome to use that format, and obviously look for your character countdown over here to make sure that you can fit everything in. But again, that's going to vary from business to business. And then here I utilize and have my virtual assistant utilize more of a form template or a form format. So here it would be buyer, and we would write woman, because I could tell her, is it women's, is it girls, men's, boys, whatever. Then we would write the item, and it's a dress. And then we would put details, and we're going to put bodycon, mini, embellished, and whatever details about the dress would go here. And those are all good keywords that are going to help the item come up in search in Poshmark. So it's important to fill that up with as many keywords as you can that make sense. Again, whether you, the virtual assistant, are coming up with those keywords based on the pictures, or the reseller supervisor is providing those keywords to you on a form or in some other way. So all of that information for your description needs to go in here. If there's measurements, we go ahead and put the measurements in there, etc. And on down the line, whatever that person wants to include in their description. So I'm not going to go too deep into that because that's an individual decision. Then you want to go ahead and select the category. Is it women's, men's, kids? Is it a home item? And you go from there. So I said this was going to be a dress, so we'll make this a mini dress. And if there's just one of them, you're going to leave it as a single item. You're going to select the size. So whether you're looking at the picture of the tags and you're going to be able to determine the size from the tags, let's say it's a size 6, or maybe they're giving that information to you, you're going to determine the size and put that in there. If it's new with tags or not, you can go ahead and include that as well. Then you want to include the brand. Let's go ahead and say this is a Calvin Klein dress that I can't spell. You just want to start typing it in and then select it from here. Sometimes if a computer is running slow or there's an issue, the drop down doesn't come up, but it's best to select from the drop down so that it's all linked in, and when someone happens to click on the Calvin Klein brand in search, they can see this item. If you type it in, don't get it quite right or something, then it may not pull up. Let's go ahead and say that this is a black and silver dress. And then if we knew what the retail price is, we can go ahead and put the retail price. If we don't know what it is, my preference is to put 0 and then put what we would charge for it. So let's say we're going to charge, $29, whatever you would like to include, or whatever the reseller supervisor hopefully has provided a price in some way. I write it on my form and give it to my virtual assistant. If the reseller supervisor wants to do more research on pricing and hasn't given you a price, you can just leave these as blank, or you can just put zeros in there and then they can go ahead and update it. So whatever your reseller supervisor tells you, that's what you should do. And then there are some additional details here. At this time, I don't utilize these because I have other systems in place prior to when these were added into Poshmark. But if they give you this information, like a SKU or a cost price or any other info, have them give that to you, and then you can include those things here. Those are not public. That's private information just for the seller. So that is the listing process. Now, if you were going to make this listing live right now, you would go ahead and click next and move forward. What I'm going to do is make it a draft first, show you that, and then we'll make it live. So I know it's really scary, but you're actually going to press cancel. That's going to alert you to make it a draft if you'd like. If you don't want to keep this, you would discard it. And if you do want to keep it, you're going to save it as a draft. And so it's going to update and upload, and then it's going to let you know that it's in your drafts, and you just click OK. So the actual process of doing this goes much quicker, but because I explained it, of course, it takes longer. So let's go back into Sell on Poshmark just to show you now that it has shown up in drafts. Now at this time, it's January 21st, 2020. Poshmark only allows you 15 drafts at a time. So you can only have 15 separate listings in here at any one time. It's a total bummer. Maybe someday they'll give us more. So you can only make 15 drafts at one time. I, do about 10 listings a day. I have my virtual assistant draft 10 listings, and she has them ready for me by 5 a.m. And in the morning time, I make them live, and then she's able to work on 10 more. And then the next day I make them live. So I've provided her with a deadline of 5 a.m. They should always be ready every morning. So that way I can go ahead and activate them and make them live. And I do go through and just double check, make sure everything's good, see if there's anything I want to add or do any price research. So if this was 5 a.m. this morning, I'd open up this draft and I would review it just to make sure everything looks good, make sure there's no mistakes, see if I want to add any additional keywords, scroll on down, everything looks great. Okay, perfect. So I am going to add a price. Otherwise, when I make it live, it's just going to show up not for sale. And so this dummy listing is going to actually go live. So I'm going to go ahead, if I was actually going to make this live, instead of clicking the cancel button, which prompts you to make it a draft, now you're going to go ahead and click update. And so it's going to ask you if you want to link it to any of these things. And I am not, because again, this is just a pretend thing. So I'm going to go ahead and click list this item. But if you realize you made any mistakes, you can always click back. And if you were instructed to add these things in, then you can. But otherwise, just go ahead and click list this item. And I don't know why it showed up not for sale. I think because we had saved it as a 0. And so if that does happen, all you have to do is just relaunch it as for sale. No big deal. It just, I don't know what the trigger for that is, but sometimes that happens. So it'll go up not for sale and you just have to make it for sale. So, okay. So this is live in my closet right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. But that is how you create a draft and make a listing in Poshmark if you are a virtual assistant doing this for your reseller supervisor. I want to get this out of here before I end this video. Delete listing. So I don't have, that's actually a cartoon of my dog that I had somebody do for me. I am one of those weird people. So anyway, that is how you draft a listing in Poshmark. That is how you create a listing in Poshmark. Again, there are some very specific things regarding how the pictures are coming, how the information is being communicated to you, what to include in the title and what to include in the description. That is really up to you and your reseller supervisor. Again, I'm talking to the virtual assistant. So you guys have to work that out. But once all of that is lined out, it's a very easy process. I've loved having my VA work for me and draft listings for me again, we're in our 3rd year now, and it's been super helpful and fantastic, and I couldn't grow my business without her. What I would like to say at this point is, for whoever's watching this video, whether you are a VA or a reseller, please go ahead and like this video on the way out. Please go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know if there are any other trainings that you would like to see. Whether you're a reseller or whether you are a virtual assistant and want to learn more reselling skills, let me know specifically what ideas you have, and I can go ahead and create some training videos. I actually really like doing this, and I hope it's really helpful for people. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead. I have lots of reseller content, and I enjoy sharing it with you, and I read and respond to all of my comments, so I really do hope that you'll connect with us. Thanks so much, and have a great day.